Hi there, welcome to this week's Inside Track with Scottish Sun. As always, we've got Jim here with me. Jim, we've got Haydock on this weekend. We've got Ascot on, and then you're going to have a wee look at York on Sunday as well. And in this show around your column, one man who won't be riding this weekend is Ryan Moore. Shock news this week that he's out, potentially out for the rest of the season with a broken leg. I mean, the ramifications of this are quite big, not just for Ballydoyle and Aidan O'Brien, but it's knocking on to other stables as well now, Jim, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, Robert. And obviously, next weekend we've got the St Ledger meeting at Doncaster, Irish Champions weekend over there at Leopardstown in the Curragh as well. So there's a lot of rides to be covered with Ryan Moore absent through that stress fracture that he's got. And Aidan O'Brien's been quite clear that it's going to take him some time to get back. There's Wayne Lorden suspensions to build into things as well. And Christophe Soumillon appears to be the man who's been brought in as the main replacement. Of course, he doesn't have any ties in France anymore. So he's very much available. And you can understand why Coolmore would turn to Christophe Soumillon. He's been successful for them in the past. And he's a proven big race jockey. And if Moore's going to be out right through the arc as well, then you want Soumillon on your side, looking further ahead to that. Now, that obviously has ramifications, as you suggested there, for the St Ledger. And as we all know, Charlie Johnson had booked Soumillon for his dual Derby runner-up, now Lazy Griff, which ran so well at Epsom, then followed that up with possibly an even better run at the Curragh. And obviously, Lazy Griff is now without a jockey. So yesterday, I think we both heard Nick Luck saying that William Buick was out of the equation. Charlie Johnson was telling Nick Luck in his podcast that William Buick's now going to Woodbine next weekend for rides for Godolphin. So he's out of the equation. He, of course, rode the horse at the Curragh and gave him a never day say die ride in actual fact, because a lot of jockeys would have thought this is a slow old boat, I'll just let him come home in his own time. But William really got in about the horse and got a really fantastic run off him, and that, I think, that put him in most people's notebooks for the St Ledger. Certainly mine. I've backed him for the St Ledger, so I'm very, very interested as to who is going to ride this horse in the Ledger. I tweeted straight away as soon as I saw that Soumillon was going to be riding for Coolmore. I tweeted straight away, what about the St Ledger? Because he has a booking for Lazy Griff. Well, obviously, that has now lapsed. Who's going to ride him? I don't know. Joe Fanning won't ride him, I don't think. Not really much chance of that happening. A regular Charlie Johnson jockey over the years. The one I think I would give a chance to, if I had any say in this, would be Jason Hart. Riding at the absolute top of his game at the moment, has ridden more winners for Johnson this season than anyone other than Joe Fanning. I suppose some people might throw in Billy Loughnane, unless somebody's going to tell me that he's got another ride in the Ledger. But Jason Hart, I would give him a chance. I would really give him a chance, but I just don't know if it's Charlie Johnson's decision in its entirety. I suspect that Midland Park Racing, Mike Prince in particular, will have a major bearing on who gets the job. But I would give Jason Hart a chance, although I don't think, Robert, that he'll get it in the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen so many times before these jockeys get ruled out for months at a time and they end up
Yeah.
coming back a lot quicker. I mean, they really are superhuman at times, these guys. Can you, for what you've read, Jim, can you see Ryan Moore being back for maybe a Breeders' Cup or something like that? Or do you think he's at maybe at an age now where his season's just written off and he's thinking, well, you know what, I've got so many nice horses next year to look forward to. I'm not going to risk anything. What do you think?
Yeah, I fully expect he's out for the season, but you just never know, do you? As you say, so many of them make a miraculous comeback and they're back riding quicker than you would have expected. But the way the statement came out the other day and the way Aidan O'Brien was talking to the media at his Irish Champions Weekend media day, you just think that Moore is out for the foreseeable future. If he miraculously reappears in the Breeders' Cup, all well and good, but I suspect they will have to make do and mend at the moment. And I'll tell you what, Christophe Soumillon is not a bad stitch in time, is he?
As we say, I mean, it's a huge blow because he is such an integral part of the Aidan
Yeah.
O'Brien operation. But when you can pull somebody like Sumion off the bench, it just shows you the class and the quality that they've got. They can just go, right, you're coming to us.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact as well that they've gone for a big name like that, and I know they've got Wayne Lorden, and he rode a Derby winner this year, and they used to have Shamey Heffernan. They've had other I mean, Aidan O'Brien has made quite a few jockeys very rich young men by giving them spare rides in the Derby, and they've gone and won it. I'm thinking of Emmett Mullins. I'm thinking of Paddy. Can't mind his second name, but he rode a Derby winner for Aidan O'Brien as well. And he's got all these possible replacements who ride out for him at Coolmore on a weekly basis, daily basis. But he's gone for Soumillon. Soumillon's going to get some very big rides. and a jockey who courts controversy, of course. So it could be an interesting few weeks.
It certainly will, but we'll focus on this week's racing at the moment, Jim, where we've got the Sprint Cup at Haydock. But we start off there 1:15 with the Superior Mile, where I quite like Prague in this, and I believe you do as well.
Yeah, I had a look at this race yesterday and just the way it was shaping up. And Kieran Schumark on board for Dylan Kuna. Prague he's run some really good races in his time. I think he was a very, very cheap buy after being a cast off from one of the bigger organisations. And the trainer's done very, very well with him, including a Group 2 at Newmarket last year, which I think is head and shoulders above the form of anything else in this race. So, like you, I think that Prague is going to have his day at some point. Group 3 Haydock on soft ground in September might just be the time for him to do it. And I think Prague's got a great chance here. I wonder, I looked at the Charlie Johnson one, Sweet Francais with Joe Fanning on board. That's got a half a chance, I would say, and I think it will run well. But I think when it comes down to the business end of the race, I think Prague is going to be there. And I suspect, like you, that he won't make the running this time.
No, I mean, they did that at Pontefract the last time, but didn't really work. I think they'll go back to more patient tactics, which is what they've done before. I had a look at the going description before we come on, Jim. It's
Yeah.
good to soft in places, I think. And I mean, they didn't have as much rain yesterday as they were expecting,
Yeah.
so I don't think it's going to be the ground that you thought it maybe could have been a couple of days ago. I mean, we'll move on to the 150. Did Hees William get caught out by the ground at Sandown last week, or was there more to it than that, do you think?
Well, I watched the race start to finish. Obviously, had a big interest in it, and I really fancied that horse after the way he won at Beverley. I know you had a real notion for it as well. I couldn't really put my finger on anything. I haven't seen James Tate say anything in particular, but I think it tells you all. It's 7 days later, he's coming back out again. They don't think that was the right horse that appeared at Sandown last week. He wasn't given a hard race when the race was over. He comes back out here in a listed race compared to last week at Group 3. Interestingly, I was looking at the prices this morning. Publish is the 5-4 favourite, and He's Wallim is 25 to 1. Now, before Publish became a non-runner last week, I fancied He's Wallim to beat that horse. So if you think I'm not going to back He's Wallim again at 25 to 1 each way, you'd be very, very wrong. I've got to give the horse another chance. The promise of that Beverley win was really, really high in my book. I think the fact that James Tate and Connections, I think there's a racing manager there as well. I think the fact that they're going back up to Haydock for a listed race over a mile with the soft still in the ground description, so we can't really put it down to soft ground at Sandown. As you say, it might not be as soft as last week. That might be a help, and I'm definitely going to give He's Willim another chance at 25 to 1 each way.
Then we'll kick on to the 3 o'clock, which is the Old Borough Cup over a mile and 6. Now, anybody that's been watching this programme, Jim, I don't think they'll be surprised to know which horse you put up in your column yesterday and which horse you're about to talk to us about now.
Yeah, Paddy the Squire, trained by Ian Jardine, winner of the Lanark Silver Bell at Hamilton last time out. He's on a hat trick here under Andrew Mullen. Andrew Mullen is what you would call a workhorse jockey. There's another word for it as well. It'll come to me in a minute. But Paddy the Squire is definitely his flag bearer this season. He gives him a chance to win another 100 grand race. Remember, the Hamilton race was 100 grand as well, Robert. He's up a few pounds in the weights, which would normally worry me. But the fact is he's going up from a mile and a half to a mile and 3/4. And I think that will compensate for the extra weight he's got to carry this weekend. I think he's an improving 5-year-old. You don't get too many of them. A lot of horses peak at 3 and 4. But I think this horse has taken a little bit of time. And that's proven by the fact that he finished third in the Lanark Silver Bell as a 3-year-old and stepped up considerably on that form from a much higher mark as a 5-year-old. I think he'll defy the new handicap mark. I think the mile and 3/4 will suit. The one proviso I'm going to put in here is that Align the Stars, trained by Charlie Johnson, was really strongly fancied last time and didn't perform. And this time they're putting first-time blinkers on him under Joe Fanning. And I don't need to tell anybody who takes racing seriously enough to be watching us that the Johnson team do very, very well in big staying handicaps at Haydock. So Align the Stars, I would nominate as an each-way saver. But Paddy the Squire, very much the selection.
Yeah, I can't make too much of a case against Paddy the Squire, Jim. I'll probably roll in behind you. But the one I'm interested in seeing is Caballo de Mar, who was a
Yeah,
horse going places before it ran in the Copper Horse at Royal Ascot. Finished second to French Master that day, only gone up £2 for that. So you see, this is his first run since. He actually won at Haydock over 2 mile in the past, so he's got a bit of course form. And to me, it doesn't look like there's too many there that want to go forward. I mean, I think Tashcan, Kildare Legend might want to go forward. So if they want to go forward with Caballo de Mar, they've got a good chance to dictate it, especially we know that he stays further around this track. So Cabal de Mar will be interesting for me, but Paddy the Squire, you've made your case for him many a time in this programme so far, so hopefully he'll go and win for you. And then in
Well,
the
sorry.
335 we kick on to the Sprint Cup, where I went into the week thinking Kind of Blue was the one I wanted to be with. Just seems like a horse that's maybe coming back to himself. You know, the last year second in the race, beaten ahead, was below par at Sean T in Newcastle earlier this summer. But I heard James Fanshawe the other day saying that the horse, he's never really had a clear run with a horse, but this is the first time he's not had any niggles in the build up to a race. So he came back to a bit of form at the Curragh, finishing third in the
Yeah.
Phoenix a few weeks ago. So he looked to have every chance in that race, about a furlong out, just didn't quite get there. But then I saw the draw, 19 of 19, and the last 10 run-ins of this, eight have been drawn lower than eight. So that's kind of tempered my enthusiasm a little bit. I think you do want to have a low draw in this. So the other thing, the 12 to 1 he was at the start of the week's gone. I think he's a 7 to 1 now. So that enthusiasm for Kind of Blue has been tempered a little bit. Lazat, who's in the same Wathnan racing ownership with James Doyle's pick,
Yeah.
he's the stable jockey there, or the retained jockey for them. So I mean that would have a clear chance. That's a 2 to 1 favourite on the form for the Jubilee at Royal Ascot. Got beat at Deauville the next time over an extended 6 furlongs, but he looks solid enough, and that'll be one of the pace angles into the race as well, because you've got Lazat, Diligent Harry, and Rage of Bambi, who'll all go forward. The one thing I would say is they're all drawn in the middle, so
Yeah.
they might cut each other's throats a little bit. In terms of a bet, I'm thinking if Night Eyes, who's the first reserve, gets in at 50 to 1, I might just throw a couple of pounds on that. 2 to 2 placed at the track, and it gave Saida Derian, who is as short as 12 to 1 for this race,
Yeah.
£6, and only got beat a length and a half in a Group 3 fillies race at York in July. So I think the conditions of this race, it can turn that form round. So one's 50 to 1, one's 12 to 1, and any softening of the ground, which we've had a little bit over the last 24 hours, would be absolutely perfect. So if it gets in, it's a first reserve, Night Eyes at 50 to 1. Small each way bet for me.
Very, very interesting. I kind of lost a bit of interest in this race when Almerac was declared and then balloted out. Now goes to York on Sunday for a listed event rather than this Group 1. Almerac, of course, was the winner of the Air Gold Cup trial and is still in quite a lot of lists. The favourite for the Air Gold Cup in a fortnight. It won't run. It certainly won't run there. So keep an eye on that Air Gold Cup betting. The fact that Almanac doesn't run, William Haggis does run Sky Majesty, which was a Group 3 winner at Ayr last year and has won its last two. So without putting up a selection, Robert, you mentioned the 3-year-old Sayada Darian. I think Sky Majesty might be better than that one, but I'll be watching Night Eyes if it gets in and just see how that pans out.
I thought you were waiting to see you lost a bit of interest with me rabbiting on for so long there.
Not yet, not yet.
What about the rest of the Haydock card, Jim? Have you got anything on that?
Yeah, I wanted to throw in one of Katie Scott's. Excuse me, Luna at Inverness. It runs in the 407. It's a 5 furlong handicap. It's named after Be Friendly, Peter O'Sullivan's great old sprinter, which won the Sprint Cup way back in '67. Luna at Inverness. Katie's horses are running phenomenally well. If they're not winning, they're finishing second, third, or fourth. And if they're not in the money there, they're winning best turned out. They're in absolutely tremendous form. She could do with some better horses, but this is very much one of her better ones. It's been climbing the handicap. It runs in the Summerstorm Bloodstock colours. That's another Scottish operation which seems to be going places. Luna at Inverness with Jason Hart in the saddle, 407. I think will run a big race, and I'm hoping that's a half decent price for us. And one I want to mention before we leave Haydock is in the 440. Now, I've already mentioned, obviously, the 2-year-old trained by James Tate. He's Wallam, which we obviously talked about a lot last week. But the one I fancy here is Special Gaath, which is trained by James, ridden by Clifford Lee. Now, the safety limit in this race was 17. This horse was 24 on the list. So I was worried it wouldn't get in, but it has sneaked in right down at the bottom of a mark of 76, an opening handicap mark of 76. And it's first run for James because despite being in the same ownership, it's been switched from Charlie Johnson. I have no inside track as to why that's happened. But Special Gath, I think, off 76, first time in a handicap, is one to be on. That's in the 440 Haydock Saturday.
And then we'll go down to Ascot where we've got soft ground. We're filming this on Friday morning, so Ascot races this afternoon. So we'll get an idea of how soft the ground is on this afternoon's card. But Jim, you put up Crown of Oaks last week at one of the meetings. It was a non-runner. Are you rolling
Yeah.
in with that again in the 210?
Yeah, I suspect it would have been a bigger price last week than it will be on Saturday, but we'll have a look at the market Saturday morning, just see how that pans out. But Crown of Oaks, I think, with Kieran Fallon in the saddle, very, very impressive at Ayr last time. And this is one of these confined races, which is confined to horses which have won no more than one race. And I think all the conditions in this race suits the William Haggis horse, and Fallon, second string jockey for Haggis, but gets a lot of big rides. And I think this one will win for him. So Crown of Oaks, 210, Ascot on Saturday. What about the 240 though, Robert?
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep an eye on today's racing on Friday and see how Sea Scout gets on, because there's a horse in the 240 7 furlong handicap called Mirabeau for Dominic
Yeah.
French Davis, who was third behind Sea Scout at Epsom over a mile and two. And I just think the soft ground there might bring this one into the reckoning. It's stepping back to 7 furlong here. Loves soft ground. Second starting handicap tomorrow, marking 95, got drop free for finishing midfield in the John Smith's Cup. But soft ground's the key to this horse, and I think if it is properly, genuinely soft ground at Ascot on Saturday, I think Mirabeau and the 240 will have a right chance.
Okay, well, that's Mirabeau in the 240. And the other one I wanted to mention here was in the 425. And I think you're going to go against me, but I'm going to go for Fast Track Harry. For Clive Cox, whose horses are in fantastic form. I think Fast Track Harry should be very, very well suited by the soft ground. When he won his maiden at Newbury as a 2-year-old, he beat that Almanac that we were talking about earlier. And I still think Fast Track Harry is on a very decent handicap mark. But you've got one against me here, Robert.
Well, I noticed it'd been bought by Tony Bloom, Humam, which was a really impressive winner at York in a race earlier in the year. A race that's worked out well. The second, the fourth, the sixth have all won since. It was owned by Al Shakab Racing, but Tony Bloom, the new Hearts investor, has bought it and switched it to Stuart Williams. They sent it over to Hoppegarden in Germany, where it finished down the field over 6 furlong. I think it finished eighth, but it just caught my eye, the stable switch and the switch of ownership. Now, Tony Bloom's a much cleverer man than you and I put together 10 times over.
Correct.
So who would know what the long term plan is? But I just had it marked down as one to keep an eye on, just to see if there's a bit of life in the betting for it.
Well, I'm not going to put this very last one up, Robert, but it's just one to keep an eye on. Ian Jarden, we've already mentioned, has that big runner at Haydock. He also sends Moonstone Boy down for the last race at Ascot on Saturday. It's normally ridden by his apprentice Mo Tabte, but he's got Ray Dawson on it down there. And the ground might well suit that one. So just keep an eye on that one. I'm not going to put it up big time, but Moonstone Boy running for Jarden, a very rare runner down at Ascot for him.
Yeah, just kind of in similar vein, we've got Perth on Monday, so we're kind of getting to the end of the summer jumps. There's kind of the same horses have been beating the same horses all summer.
Yeah.
I always find this kind of next couple of weeks quite difficult until the September meeting at Perth, which for me is the start of the jump season proper. I mean, you hear all this nonsense about Chepstow being the real start, and they're trying to make that a festival. Perth in September is the start of the jump season.
Exactly.
The end of September. That's the real start of it. Anyway, on Monday in the 210, we don't know if this horse is definitely going to run because we're not at the declaration stage yet. But a horse called Struth, who was with Charlie Johnson, who we've talked about a lot,
Yeah.
was kind of an up and coming stayer at one point. Probably never really hit the heights it probably should have on the flat, but ended up with a rating of 98. It's been moved, same ownership. It's been moved to go jumping under Lucinda Russell's banner, and I just thought that one, given the class it had in the flat, rated 98. I'll be interested to see if that one takes to hurdling. So Struth in the 210, not for punting, just to keep an eye on for a horse to maybe follow throughout the season.
Good stuff. Well, that's coming up on Monday. And of course, next weekend, Robert, we've got the St Leger Irish Champions weekend. The following week, we'll get the Ayr Gold Cup Festival. So we've got lots to look forward to. We need to try and get some money in the pot this weekend.
Well, definitely. So, thanks very much, Jim. Good luck with your bets, folks.
Thanks, everybody.